Whoop, whoop, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Megan Hardy, and I am the founder of Fitness Uncharted, which is a women's health and fitness coaching company that I designed to help women build muscle, lose fat, and improve their metabolisms so that you can feel healthy and confident in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And today we are going to be talking about how long does it actually take to change your body composition. I put this up as a poll on my Instagram and Facebook stories of like, hey, who would be interested in this topic? Because I had someone message me actually requesting this topic, and I'll read that listener question here in just a second. But I put it up and I was like, hey, who else would be interested in this? And got a lot of feedback and response to it. So we're going to be talking all about it today. Like, how long does it actually take to see body recomposition, AKA losing body fat, replacing that with more muscle, and changing your body composition and aesthetics? Like, how long does that process actually take? Like, what can you realistically expect? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Also, I wanted to comment that with my whoop whoop at the beginning of the episode. I like to change it up, got to keep you guys on your toes and keep it fresh, with my intro. So I was actually editing a prior episode. I think is like episode 71 with Louise Digby. And we did an interview together. And at the beginning of that episode, I say something like, hello, hello. And my husband, Justin, was in the other room and was making fun of me because I was editing the episode. And it's funny because I knew he was in the other room. And when I was editing that episode, I kept having to go back to that part where I say, hello, hello. And then I hear him from the kitchen going, hello, hello, and making fun of me. So anyway, and I told him, I yelled into the kitchen. I was like, I knew you were going to make fun of me. I knew it was coming. But anyway, got to keep it fresh, keep it exciting. So let's jump on in. I want to read this listener question through first, and then I will try to answer this question to the best of my ability. So this listener messaged me and said, hey, Megan, I love your podcast. Thank you very much. And this is from Beth, by the way. She said, and your voice. Is that weird to say? LOL. And she said, I've been on a health and fitness journey for 15 years. And 6 months ago, I decided to hire a coach because I needed the extra level of accountability and help. First of all, props to Beth for hiring a coach. Even people who have been on their fitness journeys for a long time can benefit from a coach. And even if just simply for accountability, it is so valuable. Even coaches need coaches. I have my own coaches. So props to you, Beth, for doing that. She said, there's a topic I'd love if you could cover in your podcast. How long does it take to actually change your body comp? And what are the common pitfalls along that journey that we need to watch out for and how to handle that? She said, I ask because personally, I'm so frustrated that after 6 months, I'm nowhere near looking like, well, like you, that beautiful, muscular, and lean look where maintenance is eating intuitively. I think women need to hear the roadmap in real time. Thanks, Megan. You're welcome, Beth. Well, don't thank me yet. Thank me if this episode you find helpful, because I'm going to try to address this to the best of my ability. But one thing, Beth and I actually had some conversation in the DMs as well. And because I try to give you guys feedback there too before putting it in a podcast episode, because I don't want y'all to have to wait for an answer until I'm able to record and post the episode. So anyway, her and I were having some conversation. And, one thing she also shared with me is that a lot of people, and even her coach said, it depends, quote unquote, it depends, when getting asked the question of like, how long will it take? And for instance, this person, Beth, she showed her coach a picture of what she wants to look like. And, the coach's response was, it depends. And she was like, it's such a frustrating response. And I get it. I totally get it. It depends. Like, I know that is an annoying answer, but that's because there are so many variables. As you guys have heard, if you've listened to prior episodes, like I talk about fitness and health being such a gray area because it's so different for every person. It depends on your nutrition, your training style, how hard do you push yourself like in your workouts, how How much intensity do you have in your workouts? What's your recovery like, your sleep, your hormones, your age, the season of life that you're in? Like, are you, uh, postpartum? Are you pregnant? Are you menopause? Are you perimenopause? Like, where are you? What season of life are you in? Your genetics, your consistency, and let me just say it again, your nutrition, like even nutrition and then even the consistency part. Like I don't make promises to clients because even if I give them the quote unquote perfect plan for their body, which FYI, there really is never a perfect plan. Like the best plan and perfect plan is the one that you actually execute on. There's probably multiple ways to skin a cat, multiple ways to dice an onion, right? Like that all work if you work it, right? But let's just say I give them, aka the client, the perfect plan, like tailored perfect plan for them. It doesn't matter if they don't execute the plan with a certain level of consistency. So maybe they execute the plan for really consistently for a week and then totally fall off, or maybe they execute the plan at 50% for a long time. Both of those things aren't executing the plan as it's intended. You don't need 100% perfection, but you do need 80 to 90% consistency if you want to see the perfect results from the perfect plan, right? So for me to promise a result to someone when I can't control what they do day in and day out is not fair to either of us. It's setting an expectation for you that's not fair, and it's putting a certain level of expectation on me that's not fair. Someday I'm sure I will be able to do the workouts for you and eat the food for you, like maybe in 2060. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of AI out there that can like work out for you. I don't know. But right now, as of today, like I can't do the work for you. So like I can give you the plan, I can give you the accountability and the hand holding, but at the end of the day, I can't do it for you. And so that's where I would never promise to a client a certain result because the majority of it falls back on them and depends on them. With that being said, you should see progress year after year. Okay. So if you have been truly consistent with your nutrition and training and all those other factors that I mentioned, like your sleep, your recovery, your nutrition, training, intensity, all those things, and you don't see any changes after a year, I would question your nutrition and your training programming for sure. You should definitely see changes and progress year after year. Okay. But the thing you want to do is you want to think in years and not months. So think in years to set yourself up for success with realistic expectations. Too many of us are thinking when especially when someone joins a program, they're thinking in months because they're like, how much can I get out of, and of course we're all trying to be frugal and financially responsible too, right? So we're thinking, okay, how much can I eke out of the smallest time frame or commitment possible? That's the wrong way to look at it. You're thinking in months. When it comes to fitness and realistic, sustainable results, you need to be thinking in years, my friend. Realistically, if you're doing the right things consistently, then you should see changes within 6 months. Like you should see some changes. But the way I like to track true progress, especially when talking about body recomposition, i.e., losing body fat and replacing it with more lean muscle, is looking at my progress year after year. This is simply what I do myself personally. Like, I do not look at my progress from month to month. I am looking back at how have I progressed from this year to last year. And that's going to set yourself up for so much more success. For example, for me personally, so this is something Beth asked. She was like, I want to look like you. Like, how long did it realistically take for you to get there? And I think I was kind of blessed because when I started my fitness journey, I wasn't starting it from a place of self-hate or anything like that. And I'm not saying that Beth feels this way about herself, but for anyone out there, it's like oftentimes people start their fitness journeys because they're so miserable in their skin or they just, their lack of confidence or whatever. But I wasn't super confident with where I was at. I wasn't super happy with my body, but I didn't have this like, oh, I just want to completely change my body in 6 months. It was more like a slow progression that I think was a blessing in disguise for me, where I was just trying to kind of push myself a little bit more each day. But for example, like with my journey, so I've been on my quote unquote serious fitness journey since I would say 2014. And I say like serious because that's when I started weightlifting seriously, using progressive overload correctly. Like I really started weightlifting more so around 2010, but I was still doing a ton of cardio then, and really truly over exercising and not doing things as I was best for me. So that's why I say, like, in 2014 I was more quote unquote serious, weightlifting the right way, using progressive overload correctly, and then also prioritizing nutrition to support my aesthetic goals. So, like, it wasn't until close to 2014 when I started like eating enough food all day instead of binging and restricting, when I started upping my protein, when I started, really fueling my body and my workouts properly to support my aesthetic goals. And that's over a decade of being mostly consistent, you guys. So, like 2014, it's like, as this is being recorded, going on the end of 2024. So, that's over a decade of consistency most of the time, like being consistent 90% of the time. Like I did not have months or years where I was just totally fallen off. I might have had like a week, out of a year that was off, or I might have had a day here or there that combined into a week out of the whole year that was off. But for the most part, I was consistently hitting workouts. I was consistently getting my steps, consistently getting enough sleep, consistently eating mostly good foods, wholesome foods. But then also, I've been allowing myself the fun foods. So I find that life fitness balance where I can be that consistent because I've actually made it a lifestyle that I enjoy, and a lifestyle where I'm fueling my body. That's why I've been able to be 90% consistent for the last decade. And I'm not doing the yo-yo thing back and forth, because I'm not going anymore from restricting to binging. That's what I used to do. Was I would try to go too hard on my fitness and nutrition goals, and I would restrict because I wasn't quite happy with my body composition, and then I would binge. And so I had no consistency. Now I have found the right balance, which allows me to be consistent most of the time. And when I look back on pictures of myself, even from, let's say, from today, even back to like, let's say a couple years ago, like 2021, just a few years ago, I'm like, dang, when I look back at pictures from 2021, I'm like, man, I'm way more muscular now than I was then. And in 2021, I thought I had gotten way more muscular. If I would look back in 2021 on pictures from 2018 or 2019, I would look back and go, dang, I'm much leaner and more muscular than I was then. So it's a journey. Like I wasn't in, let's say, 2014, I wasn't thinking about this end result, like me, Megan, today, as an end result. Like I was not thinking, oh gosh, I just want to be there. Ugh, and like so upset that I wasn't where I am today. Like, if anything, I would progress each year and every couple years. And then when I looked back on, prior photos or whatever, and even prior strength, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a beast today because I'm so much stronger than I used to be. Like, I'm so much more consistent. I feel so healthy and vibrant. Not to mention, the pictures look very different. Like, I have so much more muscle and so much more definition. But then 2021 to today, like even more definition, even more muscle, right? So it's just a journey, it's a process. And like that's where the biggest pitfall that I see people make is expecting results too soon and thinking short term. That is by far the biggest pitfall. It's a mindset thing. And these people, they are still chasing an outcome instead of changing their lifestyle and changing their identity. That is going to be the biggest shift. Once you make the shift from, quote unquote, I want to look a certain way to I want to be a certain way, it changes the game. It totally changes the game. Like when I took so much of my focus off of the aesthetic and switched it instead to like, oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun in my workouts. I also happened to meet my now husband around that time. I don't want to give him too much credit, but like I was just really enjoying my time in the gym. I was just like he was pushing me and like, challenging me to lift heavier weight and like we were having fun. Like he's really into the gym and fitness and so am I, and it was like okay, I was just having fun with this thing. And it was the journey and the process. And I was like, this is just who I want to be. Like, I want to be this fit person. I wasn't thinking, like, oh, I want to look this certain way. And it changed the entire game and it changed my consistency. So you'll be more consistent because you enjoy the journey more. Like, if you can fall in love with the journey and the process, it will help your consistency, which will help your results. So enjoy the journey and change that mindset to who you're becoming in the process. And it'll also help you stop obsessing over the scale, which is a really big pitfall for most women. Like you can lose weight, you guys, and actually have a worse body composition. I know this firsthand. I used to be 30 pounds lighter than I am today, and I had a less lean, less muscular body composition. So let's say, for instance, as an example, let's say you lose, let's say, I don't know, let's say you lose 10 pounds, but, or let's say, like, okay, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say you lose 10 pounds of muscle, but you gain 5 pounds of body fat. The scale will tell you that you've lost a net balance of 5 pounds. And in your head, most women will go, oh my gosh, yay, I lost 5 pounds. I did some kind of crazy restrictive diet and I lost weight. But guess what, honey? A lot of that might have been muscle. So you've now lost 10 pounds of muscle and you have 5 pounds additional body fat. The scale says that you've lost 5 pounds total, but you actually look larger and fluffier and less lean and less muscular because the muscle is going to be more dense and make you look leaner and tighter and more toned and firm. So, with just focusing on the process and the enjoyment factor, if you can stop obsessing over the scale or like counting the days until you quote unquote achieve your quote unquote end result, it's going to help so, so much. Like you will finally recognize that there is no end result. Like spoiler alert, there is no end result or there shouldn't be. Like I myself still don't look at my progress and go like, "Oh, I made it." That is I genuinely have never felt that way that I'm like, "Oh, I've made it and now I'm good." Like I'm good to go. I actually had some guy in the gym, this was like a few months ago, said like, man, like y'all are so like talk about me and my husband, like y'all are always in here. Y'all are all so consistent. Like, why do you keep coming all the time? Like you've made it. And I'm like, well, first of all, if we don't come consistently, we will lose our progress. So we're just being consistent to maintain. But also it's who I am. Like I it's just what I do. It's not because I am trying to look a certain way. It's just like that is who I am now. Like I don't look and go, "Oh, I've made it." I go in the gym to be consistent and to be in alignment with my identity and to feel my best, but then also because I'm thinking like how can I push myself harder? How can I level up? How can I fuel my body better? How can I lift more weight? How can I feel better? How can I live longer and with more vitality and energy and health, right? Like that's what I'm thinking, not, oh, I've made it. So the day you stop growing is the day you start dying. That's the way to look at it is, this is a journey and a process. And if I like look for some finish line and I stop growing and I stop looking for ways to grow, that's the day that you start dying, guys. So like remove that finish line. Like people on their fitness journeys are trying to race to some finish line when in reality, the most successful, most fit people don't have a finish line. Like you've got to remove the finish line mentality, which is really just like that's diet culture ingrained in us. That mentality that says, you're quote unquote dieting, so you should drop X amount of weight. That's such a diet culture thing. And that's why so many people struggle and yo-yo with their weight because they are stuck in that mentality. And especially when they start a new quote unquote diet or a new program, They are thinking in months, and they're thinking, you know, I should lose X amount of weight, or I should get X results in this, very finite short time frame. So get rid of that nonsense and you'll be so much more successful. So much more successful. So, other than the mindset piece, which is huge, like I would say we could probably end the episode right there because that's really the biggest pitfall I see is the mindset piece. I love it when I have clients come in, like shout out to Amanda if you're listening to this. I could list off literally like 20 of our clients, but I just love when they come in and they are so sold and bought into the process of it being a journey and a lifestyle and it taking longer than 6 months. Like when they recognize, like, okay, how long have I been working on this? My whole life. Okay. So let me be realistic about results and let me also sell myself on the fact that this is just who I am and who I'm becoming. And year after year, I will get better. And that's good enough for me. Like they are always the most successful clients. So other than the mindset piece though, the other three major pitfalls that I see either have to do with one, your training. So another pitfall is your training. So I often see people doing too much cardio and or not enough of the right kind of strength training for muscle hypertrophy. So muscle hypertrophy is just, lingo for building more muscle. So you have to create like muscle hypertrophy and you need to, break down the muscle for it to grow bigger and stronger. And most people just aren't doing that correctly. They're not training the right way or using progressive overload the right way. Or they are doing too much cardio and it's actually putting their body into more of a catabolic state that is breaking down muscle and not helping their overall body composition goals. And not helping them recover enough. Overtraining is not a good thing. So that's one thing. Another pitfall I see is in the nutrition category. So that could be not eating enough. Hello, ladies. Hello. Some men too are not eating enough as well, but I work with mostly ladies and I see oftentimes they are not fueling properly for muscle building and for their body recomp goals. So it could be not eating enough. It might be not eating the right foods and macronutrients, like not enough protein. That's a really big one. I would say 95% of the women coming into my program are not eating enough protein or too much alcohol. That could be another thing that's really, hurting your body composition goals, processed foods, etc. So those are just some off the top of my head nutrition areas that I see as common pitfalls. But so it's training, it's nutrition, and then also recovery. That's another huge pitfall. So inadequate recovery, meaning, you're not getting enough sleep. This one is huge. So I see a lot of people who will try to get up earlier and sacrifice sleep to get their workouts in, et cetera. And I'm like, hey, if you're not getting at least 7 hours minimum, like skip the workout for real, skip the workout because you're going to do more damage to your hormones and metabolism and health by sacrificing sleep. So get the sleep. That's one. Over exercising, which I kind of touched on. That could be overdoing cardio. That could just be doing over exercising in general. So you're not allowing your body recovery time, not refueling properly. So this kind of goes back to nutrition and you could look at your what are your pre and post workout meals like? Are you supporting your workouts? Are you refueling well? Is your nutrition supporting your recovery? And then also stress management is huge. So you could be doing everything quote unquote right, but if you're stressed the F out and you're not recovering properly, then you're going to have a heck of a time trying to build muscle or lose body fat. Like I have had, several clients who have really stressful jobs. I've had a client who's a lawyer, I have doctors all over the board. And like we had to prioritize the stress reduction and stress relief and work-life balance, fitness balance to see any kind of results or changes. Like they were on top of nutrition, they were on top of their workouts, but they weren't getting enough sleep or recovery. They were stressed the F out. And I'm like, you are not going to see results with that. Like, or maybe you are if you're like a golden goose and you lucky you, you can stress yourself the heck out and have your hair falling out and still get good body composition changes. That's great for you. It's not great because you should look at your overall health as well. But the majority of people, if they're not seeing the body recomposition changes and they're not prioritizing their stress management, I'm like, well, hun, that's why. That's totally why. So that's another really big one. But with all that being said, so those are common pitfalls. With all that being said, 6 months it's not a long time. So just think to yourself, like, how long have you been working at these fitness or weight loss or fat loss goals? Ask yourself that. Years, right? Like most people I talk to, it's years. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, their whole life since they were a teenager, etc. Like it's a long time typically. I don't talk to many people who are like, yeah, I've just started working on my fitness goals last year and I'm so frustrated with my progress. No, it's people like Beth who are like, I've been working at this for 15 years and I don't know why it's not working. What is going on? So you could, join a program and start doing the quote unquote right things, but you still may not reach your destination in 6 months. Like you will, however, be further along than you are today, right? And that's what matters. Like that's what matters is that you look at it that way. If you are going to join a coaching program or anything else, like or just if you're just going to commit to yourself like for the next 6 months, not looking at it as I should reach my end destination in 6 months. It's am I further along 6 months down the road than I am today? And further along could look different for different people and we'll talk more about that. But that's really what matters. And like for instance for me and my coaching programs, like I have a 3-month program, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, etc. But I try to be realistic with my clients when signing up that hey, like we're going to try to teach you a lot in that time frame that we have together. What you're willing to commit to is on you, but we're going to get through as much as we can in the time frame that we have together. But the results are up to you and your effort that you put in. And real sustainable results take time. They take time. Like, look at my own personal journey. Like, a decade later, I still don't consider myself at my end destination or that I've quote unquote made it. But I'm like, wow, okay, that was a journey over the last decade. That's awesome. And real sustainable results, they take time. It's like, and with my programs, I can't speak to other coaching programs, but it's not a typical diet plan. It's a lifestyle. So that's a whole other mindset shift. When people join something, they're expecting like a diet plan. I really hate the D word, diet. Like it's your nutrition. It's what you eat. Yes, it's your diet, but your diet shouldn't be looked at as something that's finite. It's like, this is just how I eat, right? It's a lifestyle. And if you're not ready to commit to the lifestyle and the journey, then don't even get started. That's where I'm like, please don't even start. If you're just looking for something that's finite and, just as short of a commitment to yourself as possible, whatever, it's like commit to this journey and you're going to be so successful starting there. So I feel like I'm being long winded. So to wrap all this up in a pretty bow, because gosh, I feel like my thoughts are all over the place on this episode because it's such a nuanced topic and it's so hard to answer definitively. Like, how long does it take to see body recomposition? Like, that's where you'll probably get the answer or response. It depends because it's so nuanced, as we've talked about. But to try to be direct for Beth, if you've been on your fitness journey consistently for 15 years, Beth, and you're not seeing a progress year after year, then there is something off with your training or nutrition or recovery or a combination of the three. Like if the coaching program that you joined had you doing the right things for your body and your goals, you should have started to notice some improvements and changes in those 6 months of working with them. But level set your expectation on just how much change that you should see, right? Like you've been working on your goals for 15 years, right? So why would you expect to see drastic change in 6 months? You should see some change, but how much change should you see in 6 months? You've been working on these goals for 15 years. So also the other thing is like look at other forms of progress. Like, are you getting stronger in the gym? Are you setting new PRs? Is your sleep better? Is your gut health better? Is your mental health better? Do you have better mobility and functional movement? If those areas are improving, then the aesthetics will follow. And it gives you something else to focus on beyond just the aesthetics. So again, when we think like, oh, have I made quote unquote progress? That's going to look different depending on the person. And also, you need to be tracking progress other than just aesthetic goals. That's another thing that really helped me on my journey over the last decade was really just like, how much more intensity can I bring in my workout? How much more progressive overload? I wanted to get stronger and lift heavier weight. Like I was intentional about wanting to be able to do a lot of pull ups. I wanted to be able to squat heavy weight. Like those were things that I was like, this is cool. I feel empowered doing this. So it got my focus off the aesthetics, but by improving those areas, my aesthetics improved. And then also, nutrition being a huge component to this. When I started focusing on fueling my body and not trying to be restrictive with my calories, again, a whole new world opened up because I was able to build the muscle. My relationship with food improved. That's another thing to track your progress on, like your mental health, your relationship with food. Are you feeling more confident? Are you feeling more empowered, more settled, more at peace, like with your eating and everything else? Like that's progress too. So, and making that kind of progress is going to help your consistency, help you enjoy the process, and then that's going to help you get the results too. So it all comes full circle. It's beautiful. So that, doing that, if those areas are improving, then the aesthetics will follow. So that's it, you guys. If you enjoyed this episode and the podcast, then please, please, please make sure that you are actually following the show. Like hit that follow or subscribe button, depending on where you're listening, like Apple Podcasts. I think it's a plus sign, and you click on that to follow the show. Spotify, I think you click follow, whatever. But this way, you'll get notified when future episodes are released, and it will also help push the podcast out to other people like you. So it helps push it out to other people who it thinks would enjoy the show. So please make sure you're subscribed. And if you feel so inclined, then you can also leave a 5-star rating on Spotify or a review on Apple Podcasts. That would mean so, so much to me. And last but not least, if you want help on your fitness journey and you're interested in working with the Fit You, my one-on-one coaching program, then head to the link in the show notes and you can book a call to see if that's the right fit for you. There's literally nothing to lose. It's a free phone call, and then we decide, to move forward and work together or not. So literally nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So that's it for today, you guys. I hope that helps. Beth, I hope that answered your question a little bit more than just it depends. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, an amazing week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.